Uh, Welcome again to my YouTube channel and to our today's class or lesson. Today I want to speak or to talk about risk-based audit approach. I want to cover this concept under audit planning. This is an approach to an audit of financial statements. Remember, I said in my previous lesson that audit planning is development of the overall audit strategy. The audit strategy involves the scope of work, the extent of the audit test to be performed, and the timing of the audit work. So, when we talk of the strategy, we have three main strategies which can be used. Although there are others, but I want to give the three main strategies commonly used. And number one is system-based audit approach, which I've covered. Number two is the risk-based audit approach, and this is what I want to cover today. Risk-based audit approach, it is an approach to the audit of financial statements which is based on the presumption that there is no audit which is risk-free. I've said risk-based audit approach is an approach to the audit of financial statements which is based on the presumption that there is no audit which is risk-free. Thus, it is concerned with audit risk and its three elements. I've said it is concerned with audit risk and its three elements. So, it's important to understand what we mean by audit risk. Audit risk is the possibility of giving a wrong opinion or wrong conclusion by the auditor. So, when we are doing an audit, there is a possibility of giving wrong opinion. There is a possibility of expressing invalid conclusion. That is what we refer to the audit risk. So, we are saying when auditors do the audit, also they know there is a possibility they can give wrong conclusion. But what we try to do as auditors is to minimize the chances of giving wrong conclusion or is to reduce the audit risk. Examiner can tell you to explain the three elements of audit risk. Let me write here. Three elements or elements of audit risk. We have number one, inherent risk, which I can abbreviate as IR. Inherent risk is what? Possibility that we have errors and frauds in the financial statements prior to an audit and also prior to institution of internal controls. You will also realize that can also be defined as the risk associated with the entity and its environment. Said, it is the risk associated with the entity and its environment. The term inherent means within. So this is a risk or a threat which is within the control of company management. That's why we're saying it is a risk associated with that company and its environment, and it is possible to manage or to control this inherent risk. Because you're saying it is a possibility we have errors and frauds in the financial statements. Examiner will also need to will ask you some questions like factors affecting inherent risk. One, if one is the environment within which the company operates. Environment within which we operate as a company can also constitute to frauds. Again, we can also have another one like pressure to report profits. So if you pressurize the company organization or the company management or the employees in the company to report profits, then they can cook figures. They can try to manipulate figures so that they report the profits, which you as the owners of the company, you need to report it. Although the profit may not be there in the real sense, but because of the pressure to report that profit, then they may end up reporting profit which does not exist by manipulating figures and then giving you wrong information. You can Another reason why we can have some frauds and errors in the financial statements is like because we lack qualified personnel. If you do not have qualified people on board working for you, then they are going to do wrong things. Thus, inherent risk, possibility you have wrong figures or you have frauds and errors in the financial statement. So you need to have qualified people. Again, attitude of management towards the controls to be put in place. Attitude of management and employees of the company towards controls. Sometimes, when controls have not been put in place, what normally happens? The management, or the people on board, or the employees, they can say, oh, let's enjoy before some opportunities disappear when controls are put. Let us enjoy and commit the maximum fraud possible before the company employs a new supervisor or they put in place CCTV cameras. So that attitude that controls when they are put in place, things shall not remain the same again. It's also a threat. It's also a risk. It can also constitute to inherent risk. Let me go to number 2. Control risk, CR. So remember we have said inherent is before controls are put in place, we have errors and frauds. Then when we realize as a company people or as company management that we have frauds and errors, we need to come up with ways to mitigate such. So we put in place controls. The controls are put in place to detect what? The errors in the financial statements, the errors and frauds. But we can put systems and they can also fail. Whenever they fail, that failure of the system to detect the errors and frauds in the financial statements, it is what we call what? A control risk. So this is the inability of the control system or of the internal controls put in place to detect the errors and frauds in the financial statements. So that is how it becomes a risk. Controls failing, then that is a control risk. When the internal management or internally when we fail, then the risk is inherent risk. So what can constitute or what are the factors affecting this control risk? 1, you can talk of also lack of segregation of duties. You have only one person doing everything in the company. There is no proper segregation. That is a factor. Either it can affect you. If you have segregation, well and good, it can detect the errors. Failure to have segregated the duties, then that is it leads to the system failing also to detect the errors. Another one is supervision, the degree of supervision exercised. If there is no proper supervision of the work, or if there is no proper supervision, because supervision is a control, then the controls will also fail. So the presence or absence of supervision or the degree of supervision exercised by the company management, it's also another one. If we don't also have qualified personnel, will also be affecting the systems from detecting errors. Again, those are some of the factors which affect the control risk. Let me go to the number 3, detection risk. I can use DR for detection risk. So here, systems have failed to detect the errors and frauds which are in the financial statements. Auditor will come at the end of the year to do the audits. When auditor comes, he needs to do what? To put in place or to perform substantive tests or to perform tests which enables him to detect errors and frauds. But you know also, these errors and frauds can also go through the auditor and detected, or auditor can also fail to detect the errors and frauds. Failure by the auditor to detect those errors and frauds which were not detected by the company systems. That is what we call detection risk. Possibility that errors and frauds will also go through the auditor undetected is called a detection risk. Or a possibility that the auditor's substantive tests will not detect frauds and errors. That is what we call a detection risk. Because auditor can also fail. He does not examine everything. So maybe because of use of sampling, whatever he's making part of the sample, it doesn't have frauds. Whatever is not part of that sample, it is what is causing, or it is what has got, or has got some frauds and errors. So what are some of the reasons or factors affecting detection risk? I can mention one or two. One of the factors which can affect or can lead auditor to give wrong opinion, not to give wrong opinion, but not to detect frauds, will be, number 1, poor planning of the audit work. If auditor does not plan his work accordingly. Another one is if auditor does not have background knowledge about the company. Again, it's if auditor starts to do tests, a lot of tests before a planning is complete. If he doesn't perform sufficient or enough tests also can lead to auditor not detecting frauds. If auditor doesn't have time to test what should be tested, again, it can lead to detection risk. So those are also lack of cooperation from the company management is also another challenge. If you're not given whatever you ask for, then you may not be in a position to detect the errors and frauds. So that is about detection risk. So auditors not, okay, system here, the financial statements, they have errors. Systems or controls have been put in place to detect the errors. Controls fails, that is control risk. Auditor is unable, auditor systems or substantive tests have not detected the frauds. Then that is another risk called detection risk. Auditor, after doing the audit and he has not detected these frauds and errors which are not detected by the system, he has to express an opinion or he has to give an opinion. The opinion expressed by the auditor, or when the financial statements they have errors, the errors have not been detected by the system, and again the auditor has not detected the errors when they are still present, then that is what then auditor will express an opinion after that. I've said errors are there, system have not detected, auditor has not detected. Auditor then will go ahead and express an opinion without even knowing that there are errors and frauds. He says maybe everything is okay. But the truth is, we have errors and frauds. So the opinion expressed by the auditor, it is not a correct opinion. And that is what we call audit risk. Possibility that auditor will express invalid opinion on the financial statements. That is what you call audit risk. Or it is the possibility that auditor's opinion on the financial statement is wrong. So when you look at these, it can be the matrix, or they may have that bit of audit risk here that you can get to understand. So audit risk, which I can use IR, is equal to inherent times control risk times detection risk. How? You know, If the frauds which are in the financial statements, maybe, or if the company had recruited qualified people and there is no fraud, then opinion will be correct. If fraud was there in the financial statements, then systems are put in place and they detect that what was in the financial statements as the fraud and errors. Then auditor will have nothing to have detected, meaning the opinion will be correct. The same will happen here. If auditor's tests could have detected the errors which were not detected by the system, opinion could be correct. So what has led to the audit risk? It is a combination of inherent risk failing and also system failing and also auditor failing. That is what amounts to audit risk. So basically, that is about the risk-based audit approach. The risk-based audit approach. And it's a concept you need to grasp very well, commonly examined. I've given factors affecting each of them. So one of the advantages of this approach is that it enables an auditor to focus on those areas which are highly risky. That's an advantage of this approach. If you use it, auditor will focus on that areas which are highly risky. Meaning, another advantage, it leads to, or it enables auditor to avoid what you call over auditing or under auditing. So if there is no over auditing and under auditing, another advantage which will come, it saves on audit fee and any related cost to audit fee, because you'll spend less time on the audit because you don't over or under audit. It reduces the chances of giving wrong opinion, reduces the audit risk. This approach reduces audit risk, and it also saves on time. So those are some of the benefits of this approach. But now we have some disadvantages to the approach. There is nothing without a disadvantage. Like, for example, it may be mechanical. To use this approach. It is not easy to use because by the end of the day, you are concerned with the risk. You may even lose your focus as the auditor on the objective of the audit, which is expressing an opinion. And it is used by experienced auditors, not new audit people in the industry. It needs experienced auditors. Another disadvantage, it cannot be used by auditors who lack experience. And sometimes we need to assign the items. Like when auditing, we need to know stock. Is it a high risk item? Is it low risk item? Is it medium risk item? So there could be a wrong classification of some items. Some items may be termed as maybe high risk items when they are low risky, or low risky when they are high risky. So that misclassification of items in terms of the risk can also be encountered when using this approach called the audit risk, or the risk-based audit approach. Sorry, not the audit risk, but the risk-based audit approach. So that is a summary, and a good summary to make you understand what is a risk-based audit approach. And I am glad to have you as one of my viewers, and I sure you subscribe to my channel. That is a way of saying and appreciating my work. And I'm saying this for those who need a private tutor and somebody to assist them in auditing areas. You can link up with me. Thank you for watching. Let's meet next time.